Greetings, existence charters. I had some more ideas today, still at the same park. And I was going to talk about the right way and the wrong way to do propaganda. Now, first of all, I'm using propaganda not the way most people use it, which is to mean lies. I'm talking about just trying to get a point of view out there um, without explicitly saying it. And it doesn't have to be lies. It could be, but I'm actually talking about truth. I want to get the truth out. Or I want to get things that are neither true nor false. Opinions of aesthetics, for example. So there's certain ways that I like to do things. They're not necessarily the only right way to do it, but I still would like it if more people did it my way. I'd have a more comfortable existence. Although if other people were really, really good at getting their ideas out, they might convince me. I've changed my mind before. I've gradually evolved on opinions and aesthetics and things because of what I've been exposed to. So it's possible. And if we're all really good at this and we don't try to shut each other out or cancel each other, we should, theoretically, get closer and closer together and also closer and closer to the truth and true beauty. And so I thought I would give a few ideas about some of the mistakes I've seen out there on television and in books too, to some degree. So, what I like about science fiction is there's certain themes that run through science fiction going way back, and it's warnings of the future. If we continue on our current path, what might happen? Sometimes good things, sometimes less than good things. They warn us about technologies. They warn us about artificial intelligence, for example. If it gets too intelligent and basically becomes independent, it might turn against us. These things you want to think about. They warn us about pollution. They warn us about military weapons technology getting better and better to the point that we might just wipe out the entire species, maybe even blow up the planet. And if we haven't already colonized other planets by that time, that's not good. Well, it's not good in any case, but you know what I mean. And so I enjoy science fiction that kind of talks about those things. And it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't come across as preachy. A lot of people are really oversensitive these days. They see, for example, they see a woman in a position of power and they just assume that this is some sort of feminist propaganda. That the feminists are basically trying to say, women are at least as good as men, if not better. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous because there are certain things that women can definitely do. We've now seen this in the real world. It's obvious that women can hold positions of power. And just because one woman does it doesn't mean anything necessarily about the rest of society. And in fact, I think that would be a good thing. Go to an alien culture on another planet where the women are in charge. It makes you think. It makes you think, what are all the possible ways we could arrange our societies and our cultures? That's one possibility. It's not one I like, but it's not the end of the world either. It's just a possibility. And even if it is a bad thing, well, then show how it's a bad thing. And that should also make you think. Maybe if the men were all in charge and women were subjugated, that wouldn't be a good thing either. So that's the type of thing I really like. And Star Trek as a whole, especially Next Generation and the original series, really did a good job with this. They weren't just explicitly preaching stuff to you, but they would show you the different possible cultures, and it would make you think. And you didn't have to always agree with the writers. It wasn't always obvious what the writers were thinking, other than just trying to make you think. And I think that's the best way to do the propaganda. And to contrast this with some of the really ridiculous stuff I've seen lately, uh, in a recent season of Doctor Who, you had what was the one with the oxygen? They went in the future. There was these miners, and spoiler alert, uh, the company that had hired them decided it was too expensive to send them back home, so just decided to kill them all and use robots. And so they would save money. And then the thing is, this got blamed. Uh, this was blamed on capitalism, and the doctor said that was the end of capitalism for the rest of eternity. And I thought, boy, is that strange. And not just for the reasons you're probably thinking. The most obvious reason is that's not how capitalists think of capitalism. It's, according to a capitalist, you wouldn't kill your workers because not only do you have a right to run your business the way you want, they have a right to run their own lives the way that they want. And if it ever got out that you were killing your workers, no one would ever work for you again. And your customers would probably boycott you. And a whole lot of other things that don't necessarily require government interference. The market would speak. Like a company that wants to save a little bit of money by killing off its workers would not do well in the market. And so it's ridiculous to blame that on capitalism. But of course, I understand that there are different definitions of capitalism out there, and a lot of people these days have no idea what they're talking about. They support socialism, and they think that capitalism is something else entirely. So that's only one thing that bothered me. But what really bothered me was that this one act was being blamed on an entire economic system. I mean, suppose he had blamed it on socialism. That also wouldn't make any sense because it's just one company that did this. One company got greedy and did one bad thing. How does that reflect on the entire economic system? Now, if it was the central government in a socialist system had ordered them to do that, then yes, you could kind of blame the entire system. But in capitalism, that really doesn't make sense because it's centralized. So it's just this wanting to take one thing and make it representative of a much larger thing. Like, imagine if they had actually came out and said the Cybermen were communists because they have this sort of hive mind thing going on, and the Daleks were Nazis or something. That's not quite right. There's differences. It's not quite the same thing. And it's so silly. It's more like they are what they are. It's an individual thing, and people do bad things, and companies do bad things all the time. And in all the previous episodes, it was never thought of as capitalism or socialism. It was just, oh, this one company did this one bad thing. Like, there was this episode of the Third Doctor where there was a company dumping, like, toxic chemicals in the ground, and it made these maggots grow really big, and they were coming out of the ground and, attacking people and stuff. I don't actually remember that episode very well, but I think it's called The Green Death or something, and look it up. I mean, that wasn't blamed on an economic system. Well, for one thing, it took place in England during, like, the 70s, so it would be harder to get away with that, whereas oxygen took place in the far future on an asteroid somewhere. But other things I've noticed, too, I mean, that's the worst of it, the capitalist thing, but also in New Who, it seems like every other character is gay, and then they start talking about transsexual issues. Now, I had always wondered, growing up on the classic series, since the Doctor can, like, become basically a new person every time he regenerates, is it possible for him to even, like, change his sex? Why not? I actually had a dream when I was in 4th grade that the Doctor regenerated as a woman. And then after that, I always wondered, why didn't that ever happen? because he went through seven doctors before they ended the show, and they were all men in a row. I'm like, what are the chances of that? Probably their biology works the same as ours, and everyone's stuck as one or the other. But if it was different on Gallifrey, I wouldn't have any problem with it because there's a different species. But what started to happen in the new series was, well, first you had, well, Matt Smith found that arm with, the 11th Doctor found the arm with the tattoo on it, and in that planet that had taken all the TARDISes and taken their energy out, and mentioned that this belonged to someone who had been both men and women, uh, and then later you had Missy show up, and so apparently the Master can change sexes. And we wonder, well, why doesn't the Doctor do it? Then the Doctor actually did it, and if that was all they did by itself, I wouldn't have a problem. But then here's the thing: there was a scene with the 11th Doctor and Bill, where the 11th Doctor's talking about Missy, and Bill is like, and then the 11th Doctor just goes ahead. This is the part I didn't like. Goes ahead and says, "Yeah, we're an advanced race. We don't have your hang-ups about antiquated concepts of gender, whatever I don't remember what the quote was, but basically putting all of humanity down simply for having different sexes and making assumptions about the way Bill thought, just assuming and accusing, and it kind of felt like accusing the watchers at home too. It was ridiculous. Of course, she then fires back, and yet you call yourselves Time Lords. And he says, "Yeah, shut up." So there was that. But see, that was kind of where they crossed the line from the right way to do propaganda is just show the possibilities and show it working. That's the good way to do it, like the way Star Trek did it. But that's where they crossed the line, started getting into these discussions and making accusations, and it didn't fit. It really didn't seem like it fit the Doctor's character or the situation. The dialogue was strained. It was stupid. And so, anyways, those are a few examples of my thoughts. I thought I would start a discussion here of like what is a good way to do this and a bad way to do it to get our ideas out. And of course, we're going to have different ideas. That's okay. But I kind of want to get people thinking about good ways to get your bad ideas out. At least, if you're not going to do, or even good ideas to get your good ideas out. We shouldn't be doing either good or bad ideas, getting them out in a bad way. So, have at it.